There's an international whiskey society that you can join, but for a fee. Is it worth it? Let's talk about it. Hey guys, welcome back to Whiskey on the West Coast. My name is Matt, and today I wanted to talk to you about the reasons why I finally decided to join the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, the SMWS. Now, for a number of years, I actually was kind of sitting on the fence. I wasn't quite sure whether or not I should go ahead and join. But recently, I did decide to join the Canadian branch of the SMWS, and I wanted to talk to you about the top 5 reasons why I decided to finally take the plunge and join. Now, it started as a group of friends who had joined together to purchase casks of whiskey. In 1978, they purchased their first cask of whiskey from the Glenfarclas Distillery, a 1975 Glenfarclas, actually. And over time, more and more casks were purchased by the group. And they went ahead and they made membership open to the public. And thus, the Scotch Malt Whisky Society was founded actually 40 years ago in 1983 in Edinburgh, Scotland. Yeah, that's right. The SMWS is celebrating their 40th anniversary this year. Now, as I just mentioned, the first release from the SMWS was a Glenfarclas. Now, this cask of Glenfarclas purchased in 1978 was in 1975. It was released in 1983, meaning that it was an 8-year-old Glenfarclas that was released. Now, the thing about Glenfarclas Distillery is that they're notorious for not wanting their name associated with independent bottlings of their whiskey. They're very brand conscious and they want to protect their brand by all means necessary. So the SMWS needed to come up with a way of getting around this, basically labeling their bottles and telling people in their society what was in the bottle without actually naming the distillery. And so they did this by actually coming up with a numbering system, or almost like a secret code, where the first number on the label denotes the distillery that's made the whiskey in the bottle. Now, this number is assigned in order of when they were bottled by the SMWS. And what I mean by this is, if it was the first distillery ever bottled by the SMWS, they'd be labeled number 1, second, number 2, so on and so forth. The second number in this numbering system is the edition, let's say, of that distillery. So if it was the third time that they were bottled by the SMWS and it was distillery number 1, that would mean that the code would be bottling 1.3. So in this case, with the first ever bottling from the first ever distillery, the first SMWS release in 1983 was a 1.1, the first bottling from Glenfarclas from the SMWS. Again, 1975, 8 years old, bottled at cask strength of 54%. So the SMWS is in effect both a whiskey club or whiskey society and an independent bottler. And from humble beginnings, the SMWS has grown to over 37,000 members in 24 countries. In order to purchase a bottle, you have to be a member of the society. And talking about the branches, once again, I'm in Canada. One of the branches is here in Canada, and the branch here was actually started by Rob and Kelly Carpenter, who are part owners in the Holyrood Distillery in Edinburgh, Scotland. Now, when I joined, I received a few things in the mail. And so of those things, one is actually this SMWS lapel pin right here. It's pretty cool. Nice little touch. I received a welcome letter from the SMWS. Very nice, very nice. The 40th anniversary emblazoned right on it. Also received an edition of this unfiltered magazine, just kind of to help me get my bearings with the society and how it works. There's some articles about different bottlings and what to expect. And actually, one of the most important things, at least for me, in regards to my Scotland trip, was actually I received a SMWS membership card with my membership number and my name. Covered my name and number for internet reasons. But yeah, that's what came in my welcome package. And from there, I think we should talk about the 5 reasons why I joined. Right off the top, first and foremost, the number one reason why I wanted to join the SMWS is so that I could buy bottles of their whiskey. I'd heard great things about the quality of their casks and of the whiskeys that came out of their casks. And largely, SMWS bottles single casks at cask strength, natural color, non-chill filtered. Now they do some batch bottlings where they go ahead and they vat a number of casks together from a single distillery, and they do some blended malts. However, most of their whiskeys are of the single cask variety. Now, before I went ahead and I actually joined the SMWS, I had tried a few of their releases, including I believe it was about 21, 22-year-old Glen Scotia and a 17 or 18-year-old Lacheg, and I really enjoyed both. They really showed well, and they gave me the confidence to say, okay, I think I should go ahead and join. Also, I had heard from some reviews that there was a particular bottle that had come out in the most recent outturn that was particularly good. So I went ahead and I jumped on buying that bottle, which ties into my second reason for joining. The second reason why I decided to join the SMWS now is because of a membership incentive. Now, different branches across the world have different incentives, but the one I wanted to take advantage of in Canada was that if you haven't joined the SMWS Canada before, their first annual fee of $125 to join is actually waived if you purchase a bottle over a certain dollar value. And that, I believe, is about $180. And so the bottle I had my eye on of their really great quality whiskey was over that $180 threshold. So I decided that's the way I want to go ahead and join, because it almost feels like a free trial of the SMWS. I get to get a bottle instead of paying for a membership. I get the membership as a bonus, and I get to try some of their whiskey, which is what we're really all after anyways, isn't it? Now, the bottle I had my eye on was this one right here, and it's a 63101 from the SMWS, and it's called Wickedly Vile and Despicably Dreadful. And let me read you a little bit of the description here on the front of the bottle. You will not like this whiskey. It is not painfully exquisite and drenched in old-style Highland waxiness. I think from that, you can figure out that this is fairly tongue-in-cheek, as a lot of the names of the SMWS bottlings are. And also, old-style Highland waxiness. That sounds phenomenal. Painfully exquisite? Yeah, okay. You've got my attention with a ridiculous name like that. So the 63.101 from the SMWS, the 63rd distillery that was bottled by the SMWS is Glentalkers. Which I don't actually own another bottle of. This is my first Glentalkers, and this is the 101st bottling by the SMWS of Glentalkers. It's a 19-year-old Glentalkers from a first fill ex-bourbon cask, and I had it on good authority that this bottle was phenomenal. And I poured a little bit in a glass here, and this isn't going to be a review. This is a video about why I joined, but the nose is inviting all those sorts of comparisons that it drew on the label, like an old style waxy Highland character for sure, certain fruitiness too, and then a bit of like an earthiness, or maybe even a dustiness. But there's something real magical going on. This is only my second glass I've poured of this bottle. I need to get to know it quite a bit, and I only just poured this, so this hasn't opened up yet. But I think you're getting my drift. This bottle is shaping up to be excellent. The third reason why I went ahead and joined the SMWS is just the sheer number of distilleries that they bottle from and the frequency of the outturns that they have. So the SMWS bottles whiskey from a wide variety of distilleries, and some of which I wouldn't have access to in my market otherwise. So far, the SMWS has bottled cask-strength whiskeys from 156 different malt distilleries from around the world. But that's just malt distilleries. Of those, 128 of them are from Scotland, and the remaining 28 being single malts from around the world. Now, Japan had the first world malt bottled by the SMWS, and that was number 116, and that was from the Yoichi distillery, which just happens to be my favorite Japanese malt distillery. The first Canadian SMWS member, though, actually happened this past year. And it's actually the Shelter Point Distillery on Vancouver Island in Campbell River, and their number is number 152. So that's a recent development, and the numbers, they continue to grow. Further to this point, the SMWS doesn't just bottle malt whiskey. They also bottle grain whiskeys. I believe there's 16 grain distilleries that they've bottled, 3 of them from outside of Scotland. They bottle rum. There's 14 different rum distilleries that they've bottled from, 9 cognac distilleries, 8 Armagnac distilleries. They've bottled 7 different bourbon distilleries, 6 different gin distilleries, as well as 5 rye distilleries and 1 corn whiskey distillery. And they're all denoted with different codes. So grain is G, corn whiskey CW, rye is RW. You get to know the codes. If you're ever in doubt, you can always Google them, and there are some pretty good guides on the websites to go ahead and figure out what you're looking at with that code. In addition, in Canada, the outturns are actually fairly frequent. They're not as frequent as, say, the United Kingdom, but there are new releases of bottles every month. And most often, these are somewhere between 5 to 8 new bottlings that we haven't had before. Sometimes you have some repeats thrown in there from earlier in the year or the past year that they still have some stock of. But that usually happens in the summer, and it's not that frequent. So usually anywhere between 5 to 8 new whiskeys every month. The next reason why I decided to join the SMWS is because membership literally has benefits. And one of the benefits is that you can visit the SMWS members rooms in the cities where they exist. And in the UK, there is a few different cities where they have SMWS members rooms. So with us, we were going to visit the UK in June. And so it felt like the perfect time to join. And while we were in Edinburgh, we visited the first SMWS members room location, which was the Vaults location in the district of Leith in Edinburgh. Now, this building was originally a wine merchant's bonded warehouse dating back to the 12th century. So it has a lot of history tying it to, wine and spirits, alcohol trade. And at these members rooms, there's different events that happen. You can go ahead and you can taste whiskeys at the SMWS bars there. And they also serve food, and they oftentimes have music. So when we went, we actually went for live music to the members lounge at the Vaults location. It was live fiddle and guitar music. It was fantastic. We had some lovely appetizers, but of course I was most interested in the whiskey. So what was a really nice added bonus, again, we're talking about the benefits of membership with the society here, was that upon visiting this location, my first glass of whiskey was free. It was actually included. So I checked in. It was my first visit there. And so my free dram at the Vaults location was actually an 18-year-old Glen Grant from a refill ex-bourbon cask, which was just phenomenal. On top of that, the prices per pour at the members lounge were really, really reasonable. Really great price. The whiskey that night that we had was fantastic. But so was the company and the atmosphere. There's lots of people talking whiskey. I actually shared a bottle of whiskey with another member, and they shared their bottle with me. It was phenomenal. It was a great time. So again, you can only go to the members lounges as far as I know, if you are a member, or if you know a member who is bringing you along with. So that night, I think on top of that Glen Grant, I went ahead and had a 10-year Ben Nevis, a 9-year-old Kleinleash, 12-year-old Highland Park, and I finished out the night with a 26-year-old Tobermory from a refill ex-bourbon cask. It was phenomenal. It was a great night. So yeah, membership, it has its benefits. The fifth reason why I went ahead and joined the SMWS here in Canada is because of the tastings that you can take part in to determine what whiskeys you actually would like to purchase and which whiskeys don't really fit your preferred flavor profile. And so what I mean by this is we have a number of member stores in the Western provinces here in Canada. I believe there's 3 in BC and at least 2 in Alberta. And at these stores, if you're nearby them, you can actually attend when the outturn is coming up, when these bottles are about to be released. You can actually buy a ticket and purchase a ticket to attend a whiskey tasting at these stores, like the Strath in Victoria or Legacy Liquor in Vancouver. I believe there's a store in Kelowna now that is partnered with SMWS as well. So you can go ahead and instead of just having to take a chance on a bottle that sounds like it's up your alley, you can actually find out if it is up your alley. Now, Sadly for me, these stores are a little bit too far away for me to get to on a regular basis. I could get to the Legacy store, but it'd be about an hour and a half drive there, hour and a half drive back, and I don't want to drive after drinking 8 whiskeys and a whiskey tasting. But lucky for me, the stores in Alberta, in particular Kensington Wine Market, who is an SMWS partner, they do virtual tastings. And so I actually took part in my first SMWS virtual tasting, I believe last week actually. It was phenomenal. I'm not sure if it helped me narrow down the list of whiskeys I wanted to purchase or if it actually expanded the list. But regardless, there was a really great Ben Nevis, the first Ben Nevis that's ever been released by the SMWS in Canada. There was also an amazing 19-year-old Lafroig from a refill sherry cask that was just unbelievable. It was fantastic. So yeah, the ability to go ahead and take part in these outturn tastings to determine what bottles you want to have are great. Also, if you are a member, you get a discount on the actual ticket price for these tastings typically. But they are actually open to people who aren't members too, to see if you enjoy these whiskeys and if you think you might want to join. So keep that in mind too if you're considering joining the SMWS. That is one of the good ways to determine whether or not you think it's for you. So the big question, is it worth it to join one of the oldest and largest whiskey clubs in the world with the SMWS? Where I am in Canada, the renewal cost for the SMWS is $120 a year. And again, that initial membership cost, if you don't go the route of, say, buying a bottle, or there's a kit you can purchase as well instead, if you don't go those routes, you're paying $125 for that first year's membership fee. Okay, that's something to really consider. Now, if you're looking at renewal, say you went ahead and you went the route I did, where you purchased a bottle to get past that first year's fee. You can get discounts towards your renewal fee, as far as I understand, by referring others to join the SMWS. Now, I'm not here to do that, but it could be something that helps make your membership more affordable. Without the discount, though, that works out about $10 a month, which honestly, that's not unreasonable for a whiskey society that you become a member with, that hosts tastings, these sorts of things. That said, I kind of worked it out in my mind. Say if I bought 6 SMWS bottles this year, that works out to an additional $20 per bottle that I purchase. And in that way, it didn't sound all that expensive, but it is an added fee. Other independent bottlers don't charge a fee for you to be able to purchase them. Certainly Gordon MacPhail, Cadenhead's, the Signatory, they don't charge you extra for the pleasure of being able to purchase their bottles. But they also don't have the same sort of membership benefits like the members' rooms in the UK, these sorts of things. So you really have to weigh whether or not those benefits and the benefits of being able to buy these bottles in particular make sense to you. As for me, I really enjoyed my experience so far with the SMWS. That said, I'm very much still in that first 2-month honeymoon phase, especially our visit to the vaults. It was just fantastic. The atmosphere was wonderful, and the music, the company, and the bottles were great. The real test of whether or not I actually think the SMWS is worth the fee will be whether or not I renew in the coming year. Next year, I'll have to decide, is this something I want to continue, or do I want to leave it for a while and maybe come back to it in the future? Especially since I joined via that bottle promotion. The jury isn't even out because the trial has only just started. So we'll see what decision I come up with next year. I hope this has been helpful to help you understand a bit more about the SMWS and try to figure out whether or not it's actually right for you. I'm not here to sell you on the SMWS. I've bought my way into the society. So yeah, wanted to lay it out why I chose to do so. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on the SMWS. Let me know if you've had the experience of trying their whiskeys, if you like them. Are you a member? Are you a past member? Have you joined, or are you going to join? If so, let me know why. Have you left? Also leave a comment why you left. And let me know in the comments down below if you have a favorite SMWS bottling. Thank you for joining me once again, guys, on the West Coast. from the West Coast, I'm going to take a sip of this wickedly vile and despicably dreadful whiskey from the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. Until next time, slàinte.